This is Boats of the Thousand Islands, the show about every kind of watercraft on the Great St. Lawrence River. Your hosts are Robbie and Terry, both 15. Every week they break it down so you actually get it.
Welcome to the show about every kind of watercraft on the Great St. Lawrence River. I'm Terry.
And I'm Robbie, and today we're talking about ferries, the original just get me to the other side solution.
Before bridges, before tunnels, if you needed to cross the St. Lawrence, a ferry wasn't a nice option. It was the only option.
And people have been doing exactly that here for hundreds of years. This is not new technology we're discussing.
The Gananoque area alone has had ferry crossings since the early 1800s. Settlers, farmers, mail, everything moved by boat.
Imagine your morning commute being, well, I hope the river isn't frozen solid today.
Some winters it was, and people actually drove horses and sleighs across the ice. The ferry got a season off.
Nature's bridge, extremely seasonal, extremely sketchy, do not recommend.
But let's talk about the ferries that actually run today, because they're still a big deal in the islands.
The Wolf Island Ferry is probably the most famous one around here. It connects Kingston to Wolf Island, and it's run by the province of Ontario.
It's free to ride, which feels like a miracle in a world where everything costs something.
Free on the Ontario side, anyway. The little ferry from Wolf Island over to Cape Vincent, New York. That one you pay for?
2 countries, 1 island in the middle, 2 different ferry philosophies.
That Cape Vincent crossing is actually an international border crossing. You step off the boat and you're in the United States.
Customs on a dock. Your passport, please. Also, welcome to New York.
The Wolf Island Ferry carries cars, bikes, pedestrians, the whole deal. On a busy summer day, it makes a lot of crossings.
And Wolf Island is one of the largest freshwater islands in the world, so that ferry is genuinely someone's lifeline, not just a tourist thing.
About 1,100 people live there year-round. The ferry is their grocery run, their doctor's appointment, their everything.
That changes how you think about it. It's not a novelty cruise. It's infrastructure.
Same thing over at Howe Island, just east of Kingston. A small cable ferry called a reaction ferry uses the river current to move.
Wait, it uses the current? There's no engine pulling it across?
The hull is angled against the current and the water just pushes it sideways. Physics doing the heavy lifting.
That is genuinely one of the coolest engineering tricks I've heard of. The river is the motor.
It's called a reaction or reaction-powered ferry, and there are only a handful still operating in all of Canada.
So Howe Island residents get to ride what is basically a physics demonstration every single time they leave home.
Must make high school science feel very relevant.
Now further downstream, heading toward the Quebec side of things, the ferry crossings get bigger and busier.
The St. Lawrence is wide down there, seriously wide. Some crossings are several kilometers of open water.
Traversier in French. Quebec calls their ferries traversiers, and there's a whole provincial network of them.
Société Traversières du Québec operates about 20 ferry routes across the province, some of them on the St. Lawrence.
20 routes. That's a serious ferry empire.
Some of those boats carry hundreds of passengers and dozens of vehicles per trip. These aren't little wooden skiffs.
Modern ferries on the St. Lawrence can be over 100 meters long. That's longer than a football field floating on water.
And yet somehow parking is still a nightmare.
Eternal truth. Okay, but here's something I find fascinating, the economics of ferries versus bridges.
Right, because at some point someone always asks, why don't we just build a bridge?
And sometimes they do. The Thousand Islands Bridge opened in 1938 and replaced a busy ferry crossing between Ontario and New York.
The bridge won, but not every crossing makes economic sense for a bridge. Some islands are too small, the traffic too light.
So the ferry survives where the math doesn't work for concrete and steel.
There's also something ferries do that bridges will never do. They let you sit down, walk around, watch the water go by.
A bridge is just driving, a ferry is a tiny voyage.
Even a 7-minute crossing feels like a trip. You're on a boat. You have arrived at on a boat.
And for the Thousand Islands in tourist season, that feeling is actually part of the attraction.
Visitors love the ferries. It's access to the islands without needing your own boat, which those aren't cheap.
So the ferry is democratizing the river. Anyone with a ticket gets to feel like an islander for a few minutes.
That's kind of a beautiful thing, actually.
It really is. The St. Lawrence has been connecting people across its banks for centuries, and the ferries are still right in the middle of that story.
Old technology, still completely essential, still kind of magical. I'll take that. See you next week on Boats of the Thousand Islands.